The strange thing about automotive legends is how close many of them came to disaster. Behind the roaring V8s and iconic muscle car posters, even a brand as bold as Dodge has moments it would probably rather forget. Moments where the ambition was big, but the execution missed the mark. And sometimes, those missteps became some of the most fascinating stories in car history. Here are 12 times Dodge dropped the ball with its vintage cars and the surprising twists behind them. First up is a name that feels almost impossible to criticize: the Dodge Charger. By the 1980s, the Charger name still carried echoes of tire-smoking muscle, but when the badge returned, it landed on a small front-wheel drive coupe powered by a modest engine producing around 80 horsepower, some versions even sourced from Peugeot. For fans expecting raw American muscle, it felt like the legend had been quietly unplugged. Yet the story reflects the era. The early 80s were defined by fuel crises and economic pressure, forcing performance brands to rethink everything. Then there was the sleek but troubled Dodge Intrepid. When it debuted, the Intrepid looked futuristic. Its cab-forward design made it appear like a car from the next decade. But beneath that bold styling lurked problems, particularly the 2.7-liter V6 used in some models. Owners reported oil sludge buildup that could eventually destroy the engine. The design was ahead of its time. The durability, unfortunately, wasn't. Next came the Dodge Stratus. Compact sedans often survive on clever styling or driving excitement. The Stratus struggled to deliver either. Critics pointed to bland design and reliability complaints that made it difficult to compete with rivals during the fiercely competitive 90s sedan boom. It wasn't catastrophic, but it never became memorable. The early 80s economy also produced the humble Dodge Aries. Built on Chrysler's famous K platform, the Aries was designed to be simple, affordable transportation during difficult economic times. And in fairness, it did exactly that. But in the process, much of the personality that defined Dodge vehicles disappeared. It worked, yet few drivers felt excited about it. One of the most surprising identity crises came from the Dodge Challenger. Today, the Challenger is one of the most recognizable American muscle cars ever made, but its late 1970s revival wasn't really American muscle at all. The car was essentially a rebadged Mitsubishi coupe, sharing roots with vehicles like the Galant. To purists, the badge deserved something far more powerful. Around the same era appeared the practical but controversial Dodge Omni. The Omni actually played a critical role in keeping Chrysler afloat during tough economic times. It was affordable, efficient, and widely accessible. But safety standards and build quality lagged behind expectations. In many ways, the Omni represents the difficult balancing act automakers faced between survival and excellence. The lesser-known Dodge Monaco tells another fascinating story. Few people remember this sedan today, partly because production numbers were extremely low. The Monaco was essentially a rebadged European design related to the Eagle Premier. Electrical and transmission complaints quickly hurt its reputation, and the model quietly disappeared. Then there was the ambitious revival of the Dodge Daytona. The Daytona name once ruled NASCAR tracks. Expectations were enormous when Dodge brought it back, but instead of a track monster, buyers found a front-drive coupe based on economy car engineering. The badge carried racing glory. The car itself struggled to match it. The Dodge Rampage attempted something unusual, combining the practicality of a pickup with compact car efficiency. Think of it as Dodge's answer to the car-truck hybrids popularized by the El Camino, but American buyers weren't convinced. A four-cylinder engine in compact size made it feel underpowered for truck buyers. Ironically, that oddball status has made surviving Rampages increasingly collectible today. Perhaps the strangest experiment of all was the Dodge Dakota convertible. Yes, Dodge built a convertible pickup truck. It was bold, bizarre, and completely unique, but buyers didn't quite know what to do with a truck that also doubled as a beach cruiser. Sales were limited, and the experiment ended quickly. Today, that rarity makes it a prized collector's curiosity. Even the groundbreaking Dodge Caravan had growing pains. The Caravan helped invent the modern minivan, transforming family transportation across North America. But early versions struggled with transmission problems, brake wear, and interior component failures. It was revolutionary, but far from perfect. And that might be the most fascinating part of automotive history. Even the brands that build legends stumble along the way. Sometimes those missteps fade into obscurity, and sometimes they become cult classics that collectors obsess over decades later. So here's the real question. Were these Dodge failures, or were they bold experiments that simply arrived before the world was ready? Because history has a funny way of turning yesterday's mistake into tomorrow's legend.